Sit back, relax, and get ready to learn from one of the brightest minds in the industry. Let's give a big round of applause for Michelle Mannering.
Welcome everyone, I hope you are having a great time so far. We saw lots of hands go up for fun, so hopefully this will be fun as well. If people wander in, just point them up towards the front here. Don't be scared about sitting at the front. In fact, if you come and sit at the front, there are GitHub stickers on the front tables. So make sure you come and sit up the front, otherwise you're going to miss out on those. Right, today, as we just heard, really hot topic on everyone's minds, AI and the future of work. How do we survive and thrive in this industry where everyone is talking about, am I going to lose my job today? What are the robots going to do? All those kinds of things we are going to cover today. So let's see if we can get this working again. Alrighty. So just a little bit about me first. We heard most of it anyway, but I'm on the developer relations team. This is our beautiful developer advocate. So if you'd like some of these stickers, come and chat to me afterwards. You can follow GitHub. Again, I'm on the GitHub developer relations team. You can follow us on pretty much every social media platform known to man. We even have a TikTok. Like, how cool is that? We have TikTok. So go and follow us on TikTok, YouTube, all the socials, and you can follow me as well. That's my cute little Octocat, which you can make your own as well. I have stickers of that too. So if you haven't figured out, the theme today is if you want a sticker, come and talk to me, because I have lots of stickers. So come and chat to me. All right, today, what are we going to cover? We've just heard from our welcome. We're going to talk about work. Before we jump into the whole AI and automation, we're going to talk about what actually is work and why does it matter. Then we're going to talk about this concept of Industry 4.0, which is what we're leading into now with AI and automation. Then we're going to go into the future of work, which again, we're kind of like heading towards that way. So we'll talk about what is the future of work and why does it matter. We are going to talk about the hot topic on everyone's minds, obviously artificial intelligence. We're going to talk about the applications of AI, because a lot of people go, well, what is it actually? Yes, we know there's some big things out there right now, but what other things can AI do? Talk about the soft skills that are required for people to actually thrive in this new industry. We'll talk about working with AI, so what it actually means to work with these computers that are becoming part of our daily lives, and then talk about how to build resilience. So you're going to walk away from here with hopefully some tips and tricks on how to ensure you still have a job and you still are relevant in this new age. So let's go way back when, back to the dark age. I think this is like the Neolithic period is like the actual name for it. But what actually is work? Now, if we go way back when, work was working the land. We had to work to survive in this industry. We had to tend the land, we had to make food, we had to grow crops, we had to do things so that we actually could live. That is what work was back then. But as time grew on, we decided, no, we don't actually have to carry baskets on our shoulders and tend the land using tools. We can actually make it slightly easier. Now we have horse and carts, we have cattle, we can make the work that we were doing not change dramatically. We still have to tend the land, we still have to grow food, we can make it easier. And now what do we do now? We've made it even easier today. So when you go and have a look at a farmland, there's tractors everywhere and things like that. Now the interesting point here is that people are still involved in this, so we're going to actually come to that. But as we've progressed through the ages, we've made things easier and easier. Then we come to the first industrial revolution of the 18th and 19th centuries, which brought a wave of this new kind of manufacturing. And this is where people started to get worried. We started to have these big industry things. We started having factories. Factories started producing things. People started doing different types of things, right? Now everyone got scared at this point going, well, hang on, there's robots and machines and things that are going to come in and start doing my job. Now we know from history looking back that whilst people's jobs changed, they still had jobs in this industry. So if we look here and we look at this industry, yeah, sure, the jobs changed, but the people are still there. Even today, if you go into a lot of these factories, there's still people there. Their jobs have changed dramatically though. How many people do we see if we drive past an agricultural area? I'm from Albury, by the way, so up north, like agricultural area. You drive past the farmland, and yes, people are still working the farm, but yeah, they've got tractors, they've got big headers, they've got machinery to do all of these jobs. We look here, there's somebody on the phone, he might be calling a manager, there's people in the background, they're tending the robots, the machines, all these kinds of things, right? Now, in this kind of crowd, I'm nearly always going to be preaching to the converted here. So if you're sitting there going, we know all this, get to the AI stuff, I'm setting the scene as to why a lot of other people in society are actually worried. So let's go back to this again, this idea of work, right? So what actually is work and why does it matter? So going right back. So, okay, in these kind of ages, work was tough. It was physically tough. It was hard going type work. You'd come in off a hard day of work and you'd be physically exhausted. I know a lot of us are still physically exhausted today. But the idea of work is that yes, people had to work to survive. That's just what happened. If they didn't do work, they didn't survive, they didn't eat, they couldn't get through the next day. Today it's a little bit different. So why do we still want to work today? Now, I think it goes back to this idea of purpose. So we look here, people feel as if they're working, they actually have a purpose. They are contributing to society. They are contributing to making their lives better. So when people say, well, the robots are coming and your job's not going to be there, people don't instantly think, oh no, I won't have to work. Oh no, how terrible. I can actually go and do other things. No, they think, am I going to lose my purpose? Am I going to lose the ability to bring in a livelihood? So back here, the livelihood was you bring in food. Now our livelihood is obviously money, so that we can go and buy other things. So people get worried that they're going to lose their purpose, they're going to lose their livelihood. And I think that's what it comes down to today. So one of the big problem or the big reasons people are worried today is because this idea of losing livelihood and losing the ability to be relevant is happening more and more. So obviously we had the first industrial revolution, which was when machines and we had large factories. We had the second industrial revolution, which was, electricity and mass production. Then we had the third industrial revolution, which was like the rise of the internet and this start of automation. And spoiler alert, as you just saw my slide, we now have this idea of Industry 4.0, which is now where the rise of automation has become so great that a lot of people do not have a lot of these types of physical labor type jobs that we used to have. Now, if we look at this picture, I get a little bit sad looking at this too. I love cars and I love working on cars. And so the fact that I look at this and go, hang on, I want to work on my car. We'll come back to that point. But this whole picture here is the people are gone, right, from this image. And this is what scares a lot of people is that, well, I don't see a person in this image. What is my job going to be like? Where do I have purpose? How do I derive income? How do I have a livelihood? What do I do? If you think about our working lives, we spend 8 hours a day working, 48 weeks of the year for however many years of our life, 40, 60, 50, whatever it happens to be. We work a lot. Most of our lives are driven around work. So if you say to someone, oh, you're not going to have a job, you're not going to be able to work in a year's time, you kind of go, well, what does that actually mean for me? And I think that's where a lot of people are getting really worried. So this is where we come to the idea of this future of work. Now, I used to give a similar talk about 6-7 years ago when AI was starting to become a thing. And one of the reasons I was doing that is I actually started an AI company in 2015, 2016. And back then, a lot of the AI was still not necessarily commercially available or commercially usable. I'm going to talk in a minute about some of the applications of AI. And when we talk about usable AI and passive AI, a lot of the AI that was starting to come about 6-7 years ago was very passive. It was there, it did something, you didn't really interact with it. The problem now is all the AI we're actually interacting with and people are starting to feel like, oh, this might actually take my job. So future of work, what is it? Now the future of work is, who's seen Minority Report? Yay. Now I think this was, somebody correct me off the top of my head, is this a 90s movie from the 90s? About then, right? Now, when we saw this movie, I think I was a kid at the time, I saw it later, this was very, very much science fiction, right? This was like way in the future, maybe like, 2060, 20, however many, 3010 or whatever it happens to be. This was very, very far away, this kind of stuff, being able to interact, think a thought, and then have an AI do it for you. This was very much science fiction. We're coming closer and closer to this now, this future of work. Now, we talk about future of work, we talk about what does work look like, not just for us, but for robots and other things. What does that look like? And then where is our place in this future of work? Now, again, Minority Report is very much interacting with robotics and stuff. I think this is like more what people had in mind. Who's seen WALL-E, actually? Anyone seen WALL-E, the movie? I love WALL-E. Such a beautiful, there's an evil robot in there, but really nice movie. I think this is a much more cynical view of what the future of work could be like, which is, as people, you don't do anything. The robots are there to wait on your hand and foot, and then spoiler alert, if you've seen the movie, everyone gets fat and destroys the planet, and they don't even know what human interaction is like, right? I think that's a very cynical viewpoint. Now, it obviously has a very nice ending, so if I've just scared you all and you haven't seen WALL-E, go and watch it tonight, that's your homework. But I think that's rather cynical, right? I think this whole idea of work, the future of work, is more going to be us interacting with technology. We know a lot of people in society, though, don't see it that way. They get scared and worried their job's going to go. And rightly so, because if we have a look, this is already happening, self-serve checkouts. The more and more I go shopping every weekend, the more I go, hey, there's no people around to serve me. There's all these self-serve checkouts now. So I remember about, I think it was maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, maybe a bit longer, they had a segment on the Albury radio station, yay Albury. But they had a segment on the station being like, people's jobs are going to be taken in the future and blah, blah, blah. And they said, call in, back in the days we called in on the radio, call in if you think your job is going to be taken. And people were calling in going, yeah, my job's already been taken. I'm a self-serve person, and the more and more I just don't have that kind of work. If anyone's ever worked in customer service, we have all these customer service, bots and prompts and things like that now. So you go onto the website and it's like, would you like to chat to an AI? And you're like, fine, I will chat to you until you can no longer answer my responses and you've eventually connect me to a human. But we know that a lot of these things are being done by computers right now. So will a computer take your job? Pull out your phones or computer or whatever you have on you. Go on, pull out your phones and go to this website, time.com/robots-jobs-machines-work. Put in your job title. Now this website, I did check it out again last week, and it seems to be still relatively relevant and accurate in terms of its predictions, but it'll give you a prediction percentage-wise of the likelihood that your job could be automated. Now, put your hands up if that number is less than 50%. A few people, yeah? Percentage-wise of being automated. People are like, oh no, my job's gonna be dead. You don't have to put your hand up, it's totally fine. But if you look at this will give you just a rough indication of will you actually have a job in the future? Now, I can see some people doing going, am I going to be going into work on Monday, or should I just tap out now and not even bother about tomorrow? So this is why people are worried. But I think if we look at technology, every wave of new piece of technology has brought with it, yes, new opportunities, but everyone has always been scared of something. Now, if we think back way, way, way back again, I like going way back when writing was first invented, people freaked out. Before writing, you had to remember every single detail of every single thing. You had to remember phone numbers, street addresses, what you're doing for work. You had to remember everything. Think about that. If I took all your things away from you that you remember things via your computers and phones and notifications and alarms and all that kind of stuff, you had to remember everything. People freaked out. They're like, oh, well, writing things down is going to make us dumb because we're not going to have to remember anything anymore and we'll be totally reliant on this piece of paper. But what actually happened is this massive wave of innovation at the time because people's minds were freed up. They could write down the boring, mundane stuff that didn't really need to be up in their head. They could write all that down. Their minds were freed up to actually be able to create and innovate new things. So that's one example. Second example that's a little more closer to home and a little bit more closer to our time is calculators. Again, people freaked out when calculators came out. Oh, kids are going to be so dumb. They're not going to know how to do math. They're not going to know how to do any of this stuff. They'll be totally reliant on these little computers. And when they first came out, they banned them in schools. They banned them at universities, being like, these things are never going to take off. We need to ensure, kids can do long-form mathematical equations and things like that. But we know that these things haven't, that thing has died. I don't think I've seen one of those for ages. But the calculator obviously is still around. We have them in our phones, have them in our computers. What we did was we changed what we taught in universities and how we actually assessed people. We're like, okay, well, this calculator can help you do the math stuff, like the actual calculations. Now we want to know how you can actually implement proper equations and do really complicated mathematics. Again, same thing when calculators came out, more waves of innovation, mathematics, things like that. So I really love this quote by Gary Kazoff from a famous TED Talk, and I've got this link in my resources at the end too, which is this whole idea of what machines do and what people do. And think back to the calculator again. So machines have calculations, right? They can do things. They can calculate stuff. They can output things. But as people, we have understanding. So machines have instructions that then fulfill a thing. But as people, we have a purpose. And then going back to that idea of purpose, right? People really want to have a purpose in the world. So machines have objectivity. We have passion. We have reasons that we do things. How many times have you heard people say, oh, the reason self-driving cars don't work right now is because of people on the roads. People are unpredictable. Yes, people are unpredictable, but people also have a reason why they do something. Something that might not make logical sense actually makes sense because it's, helping people out, or it's, it has another reason behind it. So I think this is a really good quote that kind of says our role alongside machines, if that makes sense. Trying to give you an idea, this is what machines do, this is what we do. But people are actually worried, right? Because this is already happening. I know they are. Okay, I have seen Star Wars. I love Star Wars, and I know they're not actually robots, they are clones, but they look like robots. I mean, they might as well be. But the robots are here. Things are already happening. Robots are already coming. They're already here. They're already doing things for us. I'll put up a bunch of examples soon, but robots are doing a lot of things for us, right? But the thing that really scares people, because this has been around for a while, and I'll talk about this in a second, robotic type things and machines doing calculations and things have been around for a while. But what has got people really scared is this new concept, or this new thing of artificial intelligence. Now, as I said, this has been around for a long time, AI, as a core thing has been around for a while. It is now much more widely accessible, and not just accessible within the technology community, but accessible to the wider society. So, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, we'd all talk about AI in a conference like this, and everyone's like, oh yeah, there's all these cool things happening, blah, blah, blah. Now we can go on to basically any news site, and every second article is about some sort of AI, right? Before we jump into that, let's actually talk about what is AI. So if you Google an image or Google AI, you'll probably come up with images like this, like the artificial brain, you've got neurons connected in, things like that. Now, when I started my AI company and onwards after that, when I was mentoring a lot of startups and things, they'd come to me like, yes, we've got this really cool AI blockchain crypto thingy, and they'd use all the buzzwords. And I was like, okay, cool, you got an AI system, would tell me what it is, tell me how it works, blah, blah, blah. They'd start explaining it, and I'm like, oh yeah, you don't have AI, sorry, but you have a relatively sophisticated machine learning algorithm. That's not AI. So the difference between artificial intelligence and machine learning is teaching a computer to do a thing. I'm going to teach a computer to recognize that this sticker that I have on my table is a GitHub sticker, yes or no. That's machine learning. The output of that is not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is taking the knowledge and information that they've been given and outputting a response that actually collates a whole lot of different things together and extrapolates on what you're actually talking about. So what we're getting today with some of these examples I'm putting up is actually that next phase of this AI. So in the last 10 years, we've been doing a lot of machine learning in the industry. Now we've got to that stage of artificial intelligence where it's starting to think, it is starting to understand and predict the kinds of questions that we're asking and tasks that we're getting AI to do. So this is the official definition from IBM on what AI is, which is that it leverages computers and machines to mimic the problem-solving capabilities and decision-making capacity of humans. That is the bit that scares people, right? They're like, oh, in the past, robots have been there to do a task that we've been told it to do, and it does this thing, and it only does this one thing, and that's good. Now what's happening, obviously, is that it's starting to do things that previously only people have done. And that's kind of what scares a little bit of people. So lots of examples, right? Now, I'm going to use a movie example first, which again, I love the Avengers and Marvel and all that kind of stuff. And I was having this conversation a little while ago with my friend about how AI is becoming much more a thing and the actual capabilities of it. And he's like, oh, it's kind of like Jarvis from Iron Man. How far do you think that is away, like from coming to here? I'm like, oh, dude, like that's already a thing. Like not the actual physical Jarvis in the helmet type thing, but the capabilities that Jarvis has in the Marvel series is very similar to the type of capability we're starting to get from AI, which is, hey Jarvis, can you write me a predictive algorithm model for solving the time difference thing so we can do this crazy time heist in Endgame. Those kinds of things are starting to become a reality. But some actual real world examples. Now, Hey Siri is coming like right off the tip end of that machine learning and into that AI capability. So yeah, your Hey Siris, your Alexas, Cortanas, those type of things, they're examples. Google Nest, if anyone who's got a Google Nest at home? Yeah, a few people? Yeah, these things are really cool. These are like cameras that use AI to detect what movements are happening in the house and then cross-reference it with like images that it's previously understood and go, hey, we think there's somebody in the house that shouldn't be here or outside. So that's pretty cool. I really like that. I actually want to get one of these. Another one which has been around for quite a while, and again, more passive as well, is the Subaru driver assist. So who's got a relatively new Subaru or a car that has like all the fancy driver things on, right? Like stay within the lines, keep the car on track, beep at me when something goes wrong. This type of tech has been around for a little while, and it's using machine learning and AI capabilities to help with that. Another one I really love is Photoshop. Photoshop uses this cool AI to actually remove a background. So back in the day, this used to take me about probably half an hour to do. Now I can click a button, it goes, oh, remove background. Now you're probably sitting there going, hang on, it's removed like half your arm and your hair and things like that. But what I like about it is you can actually refine it. I think that's what's really cool about all these AI things that are coming out now, is you can like refine these things. Yeah, sure, it takes me, I've still got to do a few things, but it takes me a fraction of the time to do this now, which is really cool. Now, something you might have seen a lot in articles, if you haven't seen it, you've been living under a rock, and that's this artwork, that AI-generated artwork that is coming out. To the point where this artwork can be so good that people have been submitting AI-generated artwork as images to photography competitions and winning. Like, that is just like next level, really cool, right? That was one I made in Midjourney. Another thing is articles. Now, you probably think I'm going to talk about something else here, but about 4 or 5 years ago, this thing came out called Fiesta, which meant that you put in like some prompts and stuff and it would generate an article for you. As a journalist, I'm like, that's just crazy. Like, again, is my job gonna go? Maybe. So that's out there. Now, obviously, we have something even more sophisticated now, which is ChatGPT. So now if you can't read that on the screen, I literally wrote, write an abstract for a technology talk on Git, GitHub, open source and gaming. I literally had someone email me being like, we have to get this thing live in 2 minutes. Can you give me an abstract on this? Git, GitHub, open source and gaming. I was like, I'm in a meeting. I don't have time to, ChatGPT can do it for me. Now, obviously, I've refined it a bit and I've given it a prompt there. Can you please elaborate? And it's like, sure, this is what we'll dive into. And I was like, gee, this is good. This is awesome stuff. Now, similar to ChatGPT, but more on the coding side of it, and hopefully it's going to pop up. GitHub Copilot. It is fantastic. This is so cool. This is just like a simple fizz buzz that I did there. It just basically wrote the whole thing for me, and I'm just like, what the heck? This is so cool. I've been using this in some live streaming and stuff, live coding. I had a challenge to solve and it was like, write this thing in JavaScript. I was like, I haven't done JavaScript for 9 months. I can't even remember what the start function is. And I was like, I can just ask Copilot. So this stuff here is actually crazy that Copilot can do these things. Now, I show this to people like this, technology conferences, and they go, whoa, this is so cool. ChatGPT, Copilot, I can start seeing how this can be really useful in my job and it's gonna be awesome. But you show it to people kind of in general society and they go, I'm not so sure, this sounds really creepy and the robot's gonna take my job. And I'm just like, look, they probably are, but not in the way that you think. And then they go, hey, wait, you gotta tell me more. I'm like, okay, well, look, we've got, sure, this stuff and, and you're worried about AI and things like that and we don't have a job and, oh no, everything's gonna go to whatever, am I gonna have a job tomorrow? But I think what people get scared about is they don't look at the possibilities of these types of technology. So if we have a look here, because people go, well, it is scary. Junior developers go, do I have a job as a junior developer? Senior developers go, do I need to hire a junior developer or would I just use Copilot? What do I do? Is it actually, or is it going to get so sophisticated that I literally don't have a job? And this is a question we're asking at GitHub quite a lot. And so we thought, well, why don't we actually test this stuff out? Let's actually do a study on this. So we recruited some developers, 95 of them to be precise. These were all professional developers, senior developers in their industry, and we split them randomly into 2 groups. So we gave these 2 groups of people a task to write a web server in JavaScript. Cool, you just got to go write a web server in JavaScript. You're senior program developers, you'll be right, go do this. And what was really interesting is we decided to give, I said we split them into 2 groups. So we gave one group Copilot, 45 of them. I don't know why it was 45 and 50, but whatever. We gave 45 of them Copilot, and we said 50 of them, you've got to do the task without using Copilot. We didn't give them any parameters in terms of, you can only use Copilot this much. It's just you can use Copilot, you don't use Copilot. So what were the results? Well, of the people who used Copilot, 78% of them actually completed this task of building the web server. And on the other hand, 70% of them completed it who didn't use Copilot. So I wrote there, Copilot, I know don't. Didn't use Copilot. Now you look at that and go, 8%, is that really that good? Is that really that much different? I would say not really. Sure, you can dive down to maths and do the numbers and go, okay, yeah, maybe it's not that big of a deal. But I think what is really interesting is this next thing we looked at, which was the time it took to actually complete the task. So those who used Copilot only took 1 hour and 11 minutes to complete this task. Those who didn't use Copilot took 2 hours and 41 minutes. Now, I can think of a lot better things I can do with 1 hour and a half of my time every single day if I had to do this every single day. So I think that's what the key is, right? And back to that, the Photoshop idea I gave, it used to take me half an hour to do that. Now it takes me a fraction of the time. I do a lot of video editing and stuff. If you haven't seen me on the GitHub YouTube channel, my face is over there half the time. But I used to sit there and type out all the subtitles. because Adobe didn't have anything to do. Like, you could get a Descript kind of thing and copy and paste them, but Adobe didn't have anything. Now it's got an AI that you go click generate transcript, click generate captions. Now again, as you saw in the Photoshop version, as you're seeing clearly here, this doesn't say that they completed the task in 0% of the time or 0 time. They completed the task, but in less time. So you can see they're actually using Copilot. So with Adobe, yes, it gives you all the transcript and stuff, but you've got to go and check it and you've got to refine it. It just makes part of your job a lot easier. And interestingly enough, we didn't just leave it there either. We asked developers who were using Copilot, what was it actually like? And they said, this is amazing. I feel so good. I can spend more time on doing the things that I want to do and that I find really enjoyable, rather than repetitive tasks. What's really good, and again, I was having a really great conversation with my housemate again, which was, he's like, gee, computers are great at some things. I'm like, yes, computers are really good at doing repetitive tasks. Humans, not so great at repetitive tasks. We get bored, we get fatigued, like, we don't have, after doing something for 2 hours, then that second hour of those 2 hours is not going to be as efficient and productive as that first hour. Whereas machines can have that attention to the task the entire way through them actually doing it. So they're really good at that. So in terms of these two groups using Copilot, what does this group have that actually allows them to still have a job and be able to effectively use Copilot? Well, some of them are using what we call the skills for the future of work. So I'm going to put up a list in a second. These are the top 5 most desirable skills for the future of work to ensure you still have a job in this age of AI. Now, this is slightly out of date in terms of I couldn't find the numbers for 2021, so last year's numbers, because I hadn't released them yet. But I would say it's still pretty much on par, which is creativity, persuasion, collaboration, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Now, if you're looking at those things, yes, a computer can do some of those things. Look at the AI mid-journey image stuff. It can be relatively creative. But as a person, you are the one providing it with the prompts. So I'm going to get to that in a second. But these are the 5 top skills required for the future of work. Now, 3 years earlier when I did this, there were a bunch of skills on there that had dropped off. Skills like time management, skills like business management. Those skills had dropped off this list because we no longer needed that as a soft skill because the computer can do it for us. Now, to compare that to the more hard skills, these are the top 5 most desirable hard skills required for the future of work. Now, if we look there, artificial intelligence is one of them. Surprise. Obviously, they're still going to need developers to work on AI. And in fact, I saw it's a chat GPT competitor. They were hiring for, I think, $250,000 US salary, a prompt generator, as in a person to go and write prompts for their new AI. And I think alongside that job description was also librarian. So you're a prompt writer and librarian. There's really no coding required for that. But what they're trying to do is make AI understand things better and better. So I think this is a really good comparison, right? Now, if we go back to this, will a robot take my job? Now, if you've still got that page up, have a look on that site when you put your job in. So there's that site again. So go back to it. Not only does it give you a percentage likelihood that you will still have a job in future, it gives you, next to it, well, I think one on top of the other, the skills that a robot can do in your current job and the skills that a person can do in your current job. So I see people looking on the phones, which is really good. Usually I'm like, oh, get off your phone and look at me. But no, be on your phone. Look at your phone. Look at those skills. Have a look at what those skills are that say is really important for you to have as a human. Some of them are probably going to be those soft skills that I just put up before. A lot of them are like, for example, I think I put developer in for like one of them. One of them was like a task that a robot can do is update website content, resolve computer software problems, configure networks, install hardware, create electronic backup data, yada, yada, yada. There's a whole other kind of things. And it's like tasks a robot can't do. Now, again, some of these are becoming more and more what a robot can do, but provide technical support for people. Provide recommendations to others about hardware. Provide customer service to clients or users. Collaborate with others to develop and implement marketing strategies. Recommend changes to improve computer or information systems. I think that first one's really interesting. Well, that one that I just said. Recommend changes. Now, if I go and just like send a ChatGPT off or send Copilot off to go and do a job, it's going to be like, what? What do you want me to do? Like if you just open a blank document on Copilot or open a blank ChatGPT, you get nothing. Who's actually used ChatGPT here? Has nearly everyone used it? Yeah, cool. If you just open the site, it just sits there with like the flashing cursor. You need to prompt it to do things. So that's what's really important about people. Let's have a look at some of these AI things. Now, look, I just put this prompt in for some artwork. We can have a look. It's not bad for what a computer can do, but we can see like there's some issues. Like, this girl on this side here, has she got like 3 arms or something? Like, is there like an extra arm coming out there? I think one of them's kind of missing an arm. Like, it's not perfect, right? It's just kind of taking in like what you're giving it and just outputting it. I didn't have the image here, but if anyone's seen the don't give an AI image generator cycling race, I see a few sniggers in the crowd, you've seen that. It was just like a pile of bicycles kind of all smooshed together and you're like, what? Now to a computer, that's completely fine. But to us, we go, that just doesn't look right. The other thing that image generators and these AI prompts and things aren't really great is context. I jumped into Night Cafe, this is one I've got, so again, I'll put this up this link, and I literally just wrote dog and said, put it in a synthwave kind of style, but I just wrote dog. Now, if I was expecting the AI to produce me this beautiful image of a German Shepherd, it's not, because it's just taken this one word and gone, YOLO, let's just see what I can create with dog. And we can even see there, it's written D-Dog up the top there in like neon writing, and it's got like some like cars in the background. It's got these like neon kind of like pop, like, you're kind of looking at this going, okay, well, obviously context is a big thing. But if we refine what we're telling the AI, and also I've figured out that it's better if you don't use people. Like, if you ask for things like cities, it does a lot better job. And if you refine the prompts that you get something that is much, much better. So for example, if you put into Google bread, it could give you one of a number of different types of responses. But in your head, you're thinking, no, I wanted a breadboard, like an electronic breadboard. Like if you wanted that, you need to specify that, right? So same with this artwork. Now, if you spend hours and hours on it and be really good at it, you can create some pretty amazing images. This is one my friend created. He's been using the Midjourney one. He's been spending like literally thousands of hours on it. And it just looks fantastic. I love Pikachu, so I'm using your Pikachu. But like, again, back to context, like this ChatGPT, right? Like, do you know about NDC? Has anyone been to NDC? It's like, yeah, I do. It just stands for this thing. And I'm like, well, that's not really what I wanted. Now, I could just let it go there, but I was like, well, what about if it's in the context of developer conferences? It's probably thinking in the background, should have told me that first. But it actually gives you like a much better like response. Now, what's really interesting here is I haven't just said, write me a paragraph about NDC. I just said, do you know about it? Now, a machine learning algorithm or an early stage of this would have said yes. But if I said to you, did you have a good weekend? You don't say yes. You would say, oh yeah, it was great. We went on a hike, we did this, we did that. Like you're kind of inferring what I'm saying, right? That's what's happening with these kind of things now, is that we're actually getting inference from that. I'm gonna put this up, I'm gonna flick through this one, but this is really interesting. Who is Michelle Mannering? Now, if you look at that, like what ChatGPT is really good at is writing prose, and really good prose. And it sounds believable. But if you look through the whole lot, or if you want to take a photo of it later, there's some problems with that. That is not 100% factually correct. Now, again, same with the Copilot. If you provide it more context, it actually gets better and better. I'm going to skip over this one though, because I want to show you some other really cool things that are coming, which is this Copilot X stuff. GitHub Copilot X is like the next stage of GitHub Copilot, which is like crazy. Like, explain this regex. Like, this is awesome. Like, here's a file, find the bugs, and like fix the code for me. Like, that's crazy. One that I've been showing some people sort of more outside the general kind of developer ecosystem is this Microsoft Copilot, which is awesome. Like, prepare me for my upcoming meeting. It collates everything in and goes, yep, here's what you need to do. Write me a PowerPoint presentation on AI and the future of work. Blah, here you go. Like, I think this sort of stuff is what's got people, A, scared, who can't see how they can be relevant, but B, more importantly, excited. The ones who are excited about this type of tech are the ones that understand their value against this, which I think the real value here is this pair programming. Now, if we look at GitHub Copilot and Microsoft Copilot, yes, confusing, they're called the same thing. One of the reasons they call them the same thing is they really believe these types of AIs should be a co-pilot. They're not here to take over the jobs. They're here to enhance the pilot, which is us. They're here to enhance our experience in doing this type of work and make it easier. So again, have another quick look at that skills for the future of work. This is what's really important for us, this side here. Yes, these things are still important. We're still going to need a lot of these hard skills, but a computer's going to be able to do a lot of these things. I don't know if you've seen, but you can now put into Mid-Journey, like the AI image generator, and go build me an image of a website template, and then you can put that website template image into ChatGPT and also GitHub Copilot, and it will build you the website. Like, a lot of that stuff is going to happen, but this stuff is what's really important. So how do we get this stuff as people? What do we actually do? A lot of people in these kind of talks are like, yep, that's it. That's what's happening. Off you go. And you're kind of sitting there going, hang on, you're going to tell me how to actually get these things and be resilient and ensure we have a job. So what do we actually do? How do we do these things? Now, I think one of the first things to do is, if you haven't already, is go out and actually try some of these things. ChatGPT, IBM Watson's been out for a long time, Mid-Journey, DALL-E, Google's Bard, which is like its AI competitor thing, Microsoft Copilot, GitHub Copilot, ChatGPT. If you haven't used these things, go and use them. See what their capability is. But more importantly, understand the limitation of what this stuff has. Because if you looked at a couple of the examples I gave, I started refining what I asked. I have never once got something out of ChatGPT, copied and pasted and sent it to anyone. Because I want to refine this. I want it to, what these things do is they help with writer's block or coder's block. They give you a starting point that you can then go and jump off into and actually go and do the thing that you're really good at. How many times are you like, oh, like I just got to get this article done, or I just got to get this piece of code done, and I just need to start. Once I start, it'll flow. This helps with that process, which I think is really cool. I'm the hackathon queen, so I love people doing hackathons. I think hackathons are a really great way to cultivate some of those soft skills. Teamwork, if you're working in a team. Collaboration. Understand this emotional adaptability, I think, or this emotional intelligence and adaptability is a really good one. Now, if you've ever done a hackathon, you're changing your idea constantly throughout the 24 or 48 hours. But this emotional intelligence is really important too. I've got an idea, you've got an idea, you've got an idea. We can't do all the ideas. So let's step back and have emotional intelligence to understand that, okay, we're going to go with your idea today. And I'm fine with that. And we're all going to work on that as a team. And I'm not going to try and compete with you to destroy your ideas so that we do mine. So I think the hackathons are a really good way of cultivating a lot of those skills. Now, as I mentioned, teamwork within a hackathon, but teamwork all the time. As often as you can. Now, if you've been to some other conferences, I talk about DevOps collaboration for like an hour because I love teamwork. But I think teamwork within your jobs, don't see people as a competitor all the time. See people as a learning experience, an opportunity to understand and learn new skills, to develop new skills together. This is a really good one. Hiking. Now, some of you are probably saying, what has hiking got to do with this? Now, I understand not everyone can do hiking for various reasons, whether it's financial or accessibility issues, but find something that does this for you. And what hiking does for me is it allows you to cultivate a lot of these soft skills in terms of, I think the first one is just this adaptability idea. I've been on a hike a lot of times and you're just like, we went the wrong way, the day is longer. Just this feeling of being uncomfortable. Like when you go hiking, it's a lot of the time you're uncomfortable. You don't have enough food, enough water. I mean, that's just bad planning. But you often feel uncomfortable. Yes, you get to these amazing views, which are awesome. But this feeling uncomfortable, I think, is a really big thing that we don't really experience a lot today. A lot of society is like, if something makes you uncomfortable, don't do it. But I think in a lot of situations, we have to put ourselves in situations where we do feel uncomfortable so we can get over that stage, so that we can put others' needs first, so we can find ways around this, so we can feel okay with the idea of being uncomfortable. That's one of the reasons why I love hiking. I think it really builds that mental resilience. We've got to get to the next spot. We've got to get to here. How do you have that motivation to get there? I think it's really important. Curiosity. Make sure you ask the question, why do we do something? Don't just do something because it's a done thing. Again, within the AI as well, like ask the AI, refine it. Don't just take the answer the AI gives you. Be curious. Second last slide. Always be learning. One of my business colleagues from Baja Board, when we did Baja Board, one of my business partners, and he always said, oh yeah, cool, I've learnt this thing today, I can go home happy. I was like, what? He's like, I've got to learn something new every single day. I was like, that's a really good mantra. So I think this idea of learning doesn't stop when I've been to school, been to high school, been to uni, cool, I've learnt, I'm done. Like, I'm sorry, it doesn't work like that. You need to be learning consistently. And to the point of if you have kids or you're a young person yourself and you're still going through school, you've got kids going through high school, primary school, even university. They don't teach you what you need to learn everything. You need to go out and do extracurricular activities. Get your kids through coding schools and things like that. Like people are, it's so expensive. A lot of it's free. I actually have a whole repository, which I'll put up in 2 seconds. Actually, I'll just put up now, about all the free learning resources you can find. So this is all the resources from my talk. One of the links is there, all the free places you can learn for free. There is so much learning out there that you can be done. So I think that idea of always be learning. If you're curious, if you're always learning, you're always going to have a job, because you're always going to be asking the question of, what does this AI do? Where is its limitations? And where can I provide the best value? And then what can it provide back to me? What can it do for me that's boring, mundane, so I can spend the time on doing the things that I really love doing? I think that's the big key about AI. And if you go away today with that thought, then that's fine. Now, obviously, we don't have time for questions, and I deliberately put this slide in here knowing that I wouldn't have time for questions. So if you do have a burning question that you'd like to ask me throughout the day, I'm here. I will probably be at one of these tables because I love the fact that conferences have tables. I think it's cool. But you can also ask me pretty much every social media platform known to man. Again, follow GitHub, but if you'd like to ask a question, whether it's on Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, and you don't get to me today, or you're watching this recording back later, you'd like to ask a question, please do. I'd be more than happy to answer. Even though I might be gaming on Twitch, I do live coding as well, but I've had people come in and say, are all DevOps engineers, or should all developers be DevOps developers? I'm like, okay, wait 1 second while I kill this guy in Fortnite, and then I'll answer the question. So feel free to ask me whenever, and I'll try and answer as soon as possible. But with that, thank you so much everyone for listening to my talk. Thanks to Programmable for having me, and I hope you all learnt something today and don't feel too scared about the robots taking your jobs.